everyone and welcome. This week I'm going to be going over my January wrap-up, talking about all of the books that I read in January. And I didn't end up setting a TBR in January. I decided just to kind of mood read because I wanted to start the year off on a good note, and I ended up doing a vlog where I used a spinner wheel to kind of pick from the books that I was really wanting to read, and honestly that didn't go that great. So this was an okay reading month. But actually I did get 2 5-stars this month, so it was actually a pretty good month. There was just one book that I really didn't like, and then one that's just kind of a disappointment. But let's just get started with the first book that I read in 2026, which was The Wicked King, and this is the second book in the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black. And this one I really did like. I gave this one 4.5 stars. But just a little bit about this. This is a YA fae fantasy, and we are following Jude, whose parents were murdered by a fae general when she was a child. And this fae general takes her and her 2 sisters back to his realm to live with him, and he raises them. And we're following Jude's journey as like a teen, kind of trying to find a place where she can fit in among the fae, because these are the type of fae that are really mischievous. They really don't like humans. They do terrible things to them. They take advantage of them and trick them. So she's kind of trying to find a place where she can fit in and not be miserable among the fae. And I really enjoyed this series. I gave the first book 4 stars. I definitely did like this one more. I feel like the characters in this are really well done. I have strong feelings one way or another towards pretty much all of the main characters. Like, I still really love Jude, and I still really don't like Taran. I also don't like Locke. I don't like most of the characters in this book, because I really love Jude and most of them just don't treat her very well. But they are all interesting characters to read about. I do enjoy reading about them. Even Vivi, her other sister, who I used to like, she's kind of getting on my nerves a bit now. But Carden, I am liking him more and more as we get to know him and kind of get his backstory. Like, he's not necessarily good, like he's not a good guy, but he is interesting at least. He's done some bad things and made some bad decisions, but we kind of get to see his side of things and why he does the things he does. And I would say Jude and Carden's connection makes more sense after this book. It kind of confused me in the first book, but it makes a lot more sense after reading this one. I really like seeing some expansions to the world, and the plot in this one really had me hooked. This one definitely picked up from the first book. The first book kind of had its moments where it felt a little slow. I didn't feel that way about this one. But I'm really excited to get to the third book, as this one does end off on a cliffhanger. Overall, I was happy with my first choice for my first book of the year, and I definitely recommend it if you think you would like a YA fae fantasy. Okay, and then the second book that I read this month was Hollow, and this is the first book in the Crown of Hearts and Chaos. I believe this is a duology, and this is by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti, who also wrote Zodiac Academy. And I like this one. I gave it 3.5 stars. But this was the one that I was saying I felt a little disappointed by, just because I expected this to be a 5-star. And it started off like I thought it was going to be a 5-star when I first started reading this. But to tell you a bit about this, it is a gothic romantasy, I believe duology, and we are following Ferris, who lives in a town that has been cursed. And the curse causes the surrounding forest to slowly move forward and kind of devour anything that's in its path. So any homes or people or anything that is in the area when the forest moves is trapped there. Well, every 50 years, there is the Great Hunt, where champions enter the forest in hopes of reuniting all of the spirits in the forest, because once they're reunited, that will break the curse. Whichever champion ends up reuniting the most, if all of them are reunited, gets a wish granted. When Ferris, who is not a champion, but she ends up deciding to enter the forest anyway at the start of the Great Hunt, because she is wanting to find the most spirits and claim this prize. And like I said at the beginning, I really liked it. This gets going right away and it had me hooked. And then once we are introduced to the MMC, it just really kind of drags up until around 60%, and then I was into it again. I really liked the creepy gothic atmosphere. I liked the cursed forest. I really liked the spirits in this and how they all have a purpose. Like, they're all animals. Like, we have a fox that's made of fire, and whenever a fire would break out in the forest, the fox collects the flames to keep it from burning. And we have a bear that's made of water and keeps everything watered. I really liked our main character, Ferris. I thought she was a fun character. But our MMC, I did not love him. I had started to like him, and then the ending happened, and I didn't like him all over again. We don't really get to see much of him beyond him just being like this big, scary whatever, and he constantly reminds you of this. Like, he's constantly talking about how, if only she knew what I was. I'm so big and powerful and scary, and it just gets kind of old. Because to me, it was pretty obvious from the beginning what he was, but he just doesn't say it until the end. His power, it just felt really inconsistent. Like, he claimed he only had so much he could do, but then he would go and do things that definitely, from what he said, he shouldn't have been able to do. I also did not love the romance in this one, mostly because I didn't like the MMC. It just felt off to me. I don't feel like they made a good couple. They weren't boring though. They were interesting. To me, the plot was good enough and was interesting enough that not liking the MMC and not liking the romance wasn't like a huge deal to me. But I will continue this series because there were definitely some interesting plot twists, and I do want to see where we're going to end up. The writing in this, it feels very, very different from Zodiac Academy. So maybe if you didn't like that, you might still like this. I wouldn't say don't read this if you don't enjoy that one. If you like a gothic romantasy with like spirits, a cursed forest, I think you could really like this. I did really enjoy it. It just wasn't, I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. Alright, the third book I read in the month of January was Dire Bound, and this is the first book in the Wolves of Ruin. I believe this is also a duology, and this is by Sable Sorensen. And I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. But in this one, we are following Marin, whose country has been at war, and their enemies have been taking the children from Marin's country. And one night, Marin's sister is taken, and she decides to join the army, hoping to get to the front line so she can cross over into this other country and find her sister. But she ends up enlisting at a time where the bonding trials are going on. And the bonding trials are these super deadly, dangerous trials where they are attempting to bond to dire wolves. And then even if they bond, they still have to survive the training. And all of the recruits are required to participate in the bonding trials. And like I said, 2.5, I really didn't enjoy this. To me, it was very predictable, and any twists that I didn't guess that I was kind of excited about just kind of felt like we rushed past them. They didn't feel as important as maybe they should have been. And to me, I've heard people say this is Fourth Wing with wolves, and I would agree, because it feels very similar up to Fourth Wing up until the last like 20%. And the problem is it feels like Fourth Wing, but with my favorite parts kind of watered down. For me, my favorite parts of Fourth Wing are the found family. I really enjoyed the academic parts, the trials we had in that. And then in Dire Bound, the found family is nowhere near as good as Fourth Wing in my opinion. The trials kind of, they weren't bad, but they all just kind of ended up feeling the same. Like, they each had their own individual name and purpose, but I didn't really see any difference between any of them. And then it also had the issues that Fourth Wing had that I didn't enjoy, like a lot of modern language. The characters in Dire Bound just felt really flat, and I didn't really like any of them, honestly. I didn't like the romance. Like I said, it did have its moments that kind of had me interested, but it just was not enough to keep me invested. I did like the wolf packs and how they each had their own purpose. Like, we had a pack that was spies, a pack that was guardians, a pack that was like the warriors. And like, the middle of this book was really, really slow for me, and then there was like twist after twist after twist right at the end, and it just kind of, the pacing just felt off to me. And I predicted the big twists that came at the end, but they were interesting. Like, I did enjoy those. So overall, I liked the first 30%. I did enjoy that. And I liked about the last 20%. So I figured 50%, I will give it 2.5 stars. I mean, I am intrigued by those twists at the end, so I may continue this series. Honestly, probably not. But if I hear really, really great things about book 2, I may. And I would maybe recommend this. I mean, if you haven't read Fourth Wing, or if you don't think those similarities will bother you, or if your favorite parts of Fourth Wing were different from mine, then you might enjoy this. But it just wasn't for me. But I don't think it was like terrible or anything. Alright, and then next up I read Serpent in the Wings of Night, and this is the first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series by Carissa Broadbent. And this one I gave 4.5 stars. And this is a series of interconnected romantasy duologies with vampires. And in this first duology, we follow Aurea, who is the adopted human daughter of a vampire king. And she joins the Kajari, which is a tournament held by the goddess of death. And whoever is the winner of this tournament, there can only be one, is granted one wish by the goddess. And this tournament is extremely dangerous, and in order to survive, she has to make an alliance with a vampire named Rain. And I really liked the trials in this one. I liked learning the history and the story that kind of inspired each trial. I also liked the vampires in this, how they each have different powers depending on which house they're born in. I really liked our two main characters as well as Misha, and I am really excited to see where things are going to take them. The friendships in this were really great as well. There's really great tension throughout this book. I really like the writing style in this too. It's pretty, but it's not like too drawn out or overdone. The ending had me shocked, and I am definitely excited to continue. I definitely recommend this. If you like trials and vampires, I think you would really enjoy this. And then the next book I read is Crown of Midnight, and this is the second book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. And this one I gave 5 stars. This is my first 5-star of 2026. And this is a YA fantasy series following Selena, who is an assassin, and she was captured and sent to Endovir, where the prisoners work in the mines for the rest of their lives. And then one day, the prince and the captain of the guard show up to give her an offer. And this offer is that she has to go back with them to the castle to compete in tournaments to be the king's champion. And if she wins these tournaments, she will work for the king for 4 years. And then after those 4 years are up, she will be free. And I loved this second book. I really liked the first one too. I gave it like 4.25, I believe. But I definitely liked this second book better than the first. I thought this had a better, more exciting plot. I thought the writing was better in this second book. I liked seeing more of like the political troubles that are going on in this world and finding more about just like what's going on in this world outside of the castle rather than just seeing the trials, which is mostly what we got in the first book. I felt like we got more character development. They felt more fleshed out and interesting in this one. I really enjoyed seeing their friendships grow and change, as well as each individual character. I thought the pacing in this one was really good. There were some crazy twists that really had me shocked. I cannot wait to continue this series. I recommend this if you like a more fantasy and plot-centered series with like a subplot of romance. I think you would really like this. Alright, and my last book of January was Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and this is the second book in the Emily Wilde trilogy by Heather Fawcett. And this one I also gave 5 stars. And this is like a cozy-ish fantasy trilogy following Emily, who is a professor at Cambridge. And she is creating the world's first ever encyclopedia of fairies. And her research takes her to a small village called Ravensvik to study the hidden ones, some of the fae that are there. And her academic rival, Wendell Bambleby, ends up showing up there, and he gets himself wrapped up in her work. And I liked this second book better than the first book in this series. I thought the plot was a lot more engaging in this one. I felt like we got more of the fae and the magic, which is what I'm wanting out of this series. I just love how this series is like written like Emily's journal. I love the footnotes. I love kind of hearing her perspective of things and kind of how she sees these events playing out. And this book has made Emily and Wendell become favorite characters for me. I already really like them, but they have now been bumped up to favorites. And I also love seeing some of our other characters from book 1, like Poe. I love Poe. I was so happy to see him again. We also got some interesting new characters that were really fun. There's great pacing in this book. There's great tension and yearning. I've learned that I really love books with more classic, folklore, mischievous fae like this in the Cruel Prince series. I really like the fae in these stories. And I definitely recommend this if you like fae in an enchanting, magical world with like a cozy-ish story. I think you would really enjoy this. But that is all of the books I read this month. Pretty good. I got 2 5 stars. I did get a 2.5, but I'm happy with my reading month. But let me know in the comments what you read in the month of January. And I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I hope to see you all in the next one.